Hello, and welcome to the Awakening Heart community of mindful living Zen-to-go noon meditation live stream. For those of y'all who are not familiar with the Awakening Heart community, we usually meet at the Dallas Meditation Center, but based on recommendation from Dallas Health and Human Services, we've been live streaming all our events for the last week. In fact, we usually don't offer a Friday Zen to go noon meditation. But by popular demand from the three of y'all that usually show up, I wanted to make sure that y'all had this little vacation available to you in the middle of your day. But because it's Friday and we don't usually do a Zen to go on Friday, I wanted to do something a little bit different and bring a new meditation practice to y'all. I think in my head I called it like Freestyle Friday or something, but you can call it whatever you want. Usually we practice 10 to 15-minute mindfulness seated meditation in the middle of the day as our live streamed Zen to go practice. In person, we start with a short walking meditation. And if you're wanting to preserve that, you can always go for a walk before the live stream starts, or Monday through Thursday when we do a mindfulness meditation. The cool thing about live streaming is you can just put me in your pocket and wear a headset or wear earbuds, and you can do your mindfulness meditation walking at home. But today I wanted to introduce the practice of Tonglen. And if you're not familiar, Tonglen is another meditative practice that allows us to offer relief to someone who is suffering or multiple people who are suffering, up to and including, the suffering of the world at large. I think it was originally designed as a practice to be done when sitting with someone who is dying, um, so that you might offer relief to some of the fear, some of the suffering associated in that process. But I think it has a lot of utility for, so called little suffering that we experience from day to day. And I think it's particularly pertinent right now because we're in a very uncertain time, and it seems like there's a lot of fear and a lot of uncertainty in the world right now. And the practice, so during the actual meditation, we choose to breathe in the suffering of the person, people, or living beings that we are attempting to relieve. While you have the in breath held for, ever so slightly, we're not holding our breath. You imagine transforming the suffering, the darkness into a sense, an energy of light and joy, so that by the time you breathe out, you are sending back pure, clean, calm energy into the world around you. A lot of times when I guide a meditation, a traditional mindfulness meditation, I encourage y'all to breathe in fresh, clean air and breathe out any tension that you might be feeling. And I know it sounds weird at first, but Tonglen is exactly the opposite. So during Tonglen, what I'm going to be guiding and what we're going to be doing together, if you would like to join me, is breathing in our loved ones or the world at large's suffering, imagining it as thick, dark, um, the poisons of the world are the burdens that our loved one carries. Knowing that we have the ability to transform any suffering within us so that by the time we exhale, we are exhaling joy and peace and goodness that it may spread to this world that is in such need of it right now. So I hope that made sense. I hope that gave you a primer on Tonglen. If that sounds a little bit ambitious or that's not what you need right now, I still invite you to join me to sit. Um, but you can always go back to your breath, like we talk about. That's what's always available. Um, just being mindful of the breath sensation. But before we get started on a seated meditation, just like Catherine has started, I'd love for you to share your name and something that you're grateful for in the chat box. Catherine says she is grateful for a phone conversation with a friend. I I love how I actually love how hip Thich Nhat Hanh can be with the times, where he specifically addresses using phone and computer to create connection with other people, and that seems really pertinent right now. Yeah. Um, I am also grateful that we have these means to connect, because if we were um, just quarantined in our homes by ourselves, things might go a little bit sideways, perhaps a little bit faster. Ah, I am also grateful for our time spent sitting together. I've said many times, I think we gain a lot out of sharing a practice with each other. Glad you are here. Eva says she's just grateful to be here today. I am grateful as well. And I'll go ahead and post in the chat box. I am grateful for an extra live stream this week. I think we could all use it. I think that we find shelter in each other. Um, and I'm glad that you all are here. And I hope, yeah, let's see if we get anyone joining us. Thank you for sharing in the chat box. Feel free to share if you come in the room a little bit later. That's just fine. Feel free to comment below if you're watching the video after the fact. Love to hear what you're grateful for. We all have so much if we care to look at it. In a moment, we'll start with our usual opening affirmation, after which we'll settle into our seated meditation together. If you missed it, I'm going to be guiding the practice of Tonglen, where we willingly choose to breathe in the suffering of a loved one, of our community, or of the world at large, so that it may be transformed inside us into peace and joy, which we can circulate into the larger world. But let's start with our opening affirmation. If you know it, please say it along with me at home. If you don't, then you will know it for Monday. Hi, Jessica. Glad you're here. Hi, Nick. I'm so glad that you're here as well. Ah, may we and all beings be safe and free from illness or injury. May we and all beings transform our suffering. May we and all beings rejoice in all joys. May we and all beings be at peace. And holding that intention in mind, allow your body to come to stillness in a posture that feels very grounded, very rooted in whatever surface you might be sitting on, wherever you might be lying down. And at the same time, as you plant yourself firmly on the floor, the mat, the chair, imagine that you could grow in both directions at once, simultaneously becoming more rooted as well as growing taller, more expansive, fully occupying whatever space you might find yourself in. Finding a posture that embodies wakefulness and gives you a sense of dignity. Before we begin anything else, and take a moment to attune to the natural rhythm of the breath as it is. Noticing the easy rise and fall of the chest. The abdomen freely expanding outward. And then relaxing back in. And the ability for us to breathe so easily is such a privilege. And there is so much abundant joy available in the breathing. If only we take the time to tune into it. And can you recognize each in breath, the expansion of the rib cage, like a good stretch first thing in the morning? Can you recognize each out breath as an opportunity for progressive relaxation? Breathing in, I become aware of the mind as it is. And breathing out, I calm my mind to transform my suffering. Breathing in, awareness. And breathing out, transformation. And now, if you care to join me, I invite you to bring to your mind the image of the face of a loved one, perhaps several, perhaps holding in mind your entire community. Knowing that you care deeply for these people, knowing that you want deeply for them not to suffer. Can you imagine breathing in their suffering as thick, black, and cloudy darkness or poison almost? Adding a slightly longer pause with the held in breath. And then releasing a full out breath as peace, as joy, as the abundant positivity within us that we know we have plenty to share. You can feel free to continue with this visualization at your own pace. Breathing in the suffering of your loved ones, knowing that we can be expansive enough to hold this within us without being overwhelmed by it, without being drowned in it. We know that with each breath, we can invite the positive, the calming, the joyful energy of mindfulness, so that it may shine a light on these places, these points of darkness. So that with each out breath, we can release some of this energy to circulate into the surrounding world during a time of need. And so we continue at our own pace, breathing in darkness, purifying with mindfulness, and breathing out an abundance of hope. Knowing that as long as we have a safe harbor of mindfulness, we cannot be weighed down by any level of suffering. I'm going to allow us to continue for a few moments in silence. I invite you to continue with this powerful transformation that we're undertaking. Choosing to breathe in our loved one's suffering so that it may be transformed, so that we may share our hope, share our love, whether they practice like this or not. Let us wrap up a short practice for the day by taking several full cleansing breaths, holding ourselves and our own suffering in mind. Can we allow the healing energy of mindfulness to transform this too? Allowing an abundant supply of oxygen to permeate each and every one of our cells with mindful energy, ensuring that we stay rooted in our foundational practice of mindfulness so that we feel strong and supported in our practice by each other. And when you feel ready, go ahead and allow your eyes to open, rolling your wrists and pumping your ankles, making sure there's ample blood supply to carry all that good oxygen down to your feet, down to your fingertips. Thank you so much for joining me in that practice today. I know it is a little bit different than the meditation practice that we usually practice here. Today, I'm going to be sharing a short passage from Kathy Freston's book, The One, because it's Freestyle Friday, and I just started that. So it's not Thich Nhat Hanh today. You get a wild card from yours truly. And since we practiced Tonglen together today, I want to share what Kathy Freston has to say about Tonglen, and that might help it make a little bit more sense to y'all. Um, Kathy Freston's book is about cultivating soulmate relationships in our lives. And whether or not you like the word or the phrase soulmate, I'd encourage you to check it out because all she's really talking about is how to have better relationships in our lives. Loving speech and deep listening in a little bit different words, right? So she's talking about why one would practice Tonglen with their partner. Why would we choose to breathe in someone's suffering? My friend Karen is married to a wonderful painter, Sam, who works in a garage outside their house. Being an artist, Sam can be pretty sensitive. Unfortunately, sometimes his moods sink into a downward spiral, and he goes into long periods of depression. Karen tried all sorts of things to cheer him up, appealed to him with logic, reminding him of good reviews that critics gave his work. She tried to get him to stop drinking alcohol and eating sugar, hoping that maybe his physical chemistry would right itself with a proper diet. She tried planning trips to the beach or hikes in the mountains, thinking that the fresh air could snap him out of it. But at times, Sam remained depressed and withdrawn despite her best efforts. When I told Karen about Tonglen, at first she resisted. Why would I want to take on all his depression? Won't I be absorbing his negative energy? I explained to her that it wasn't Karen who would be burdened with the negative energy. Instead, she could use the energy of mindfulness and compassion, allowing it to work through her. I reminded her that this practice was about tapping into her own compassion rather than trying to willfully fix or change someone else. Partner Tonglen is a way that she could help Sam without telling him what to do or nagging. When Karen first breathed in Sam's sadness, she felt scared. It was so heavy, she said, and felt complicated with all sorts of memories and feelings. I coached her not to focus so much on the details, but to feel the energy rather than intellectualize it. As she did so, she said that she began to sense that she was melting into some great force that has always just been beneath the surface of her personality. Her desperation at not being able to make a difference for Sam began to lift, and she felt a quiet confidence as she continued to transform his suffering in her mind, sending him love and peace in return. For the next few days, she did partner Tonglen for 5 minutes at a time, and Sam remained in a depressive episode. But for Karen, he seemed less dug into his sadness. It was as though she had stopped feeding it with her own resistance. Even though her intention with Tonglen was to help Sam, Karen was actually feeling like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. She stopped outwardly focusing on making Sam better, nagging him to change things that she hoped might help his depression, and she got on with the business of her own days. Now, whenever anything comes up, whether it's a fight or impending depression, Karen practices partner Tonglen. Sam never really knew the specifics of what she was doing in her meditation, but he recently confided that he felt an intense closeness to her that he had never experienced before. By practicing partner Tonglen, we not only give service to the person on whom we are focusing, we also practice pushing past the confines of our own ego. By taking and sending, we learn to relax the boundaries between self and others and move more deeply into the experience of oneness. We are reminded that we are all interconnected. If one of us suffers, all of us suffers. But if one of us can find peace, so can all of us. This practice allows us to become more masterful in spreading loving kindness throughout the world, starting right at home. So I know that was a little bit of a longer reading, but I would love to hear y'all's reflections on your meditation, y'all's reflections on the reading, um, or just any thoughts about the practice of Tonglen. I'm glad y'all allowed me to share a new practice, a little bit different for Freestyle Fridays. Jessica said at the beginning that she's grateful for smoothies. Me too. It's getting pretty warm in Texas. It's smoothie time again. Catherine says that was powerful. I forgot about the Tonglen meditation. Thanks for reminding me. Catherine says, wonderful description. Thanks for reading. It does seem counterintuitive unless you really think about it. Yeah, and feel free to post in the comments if you're watching after the fact. I'm so glad that you all joined me. As always, please follow the Dallas Meditation Center on our different social media so you can stay updated. Things are really changing day by day based on the state of Texas and the county of Dallas's recommendations. So it looks like we are going to be live streaming at least until April 3rd. But don't worry, we haven't started canceling events at the Dallas Meditation Center um, as a result, because we have this fantastic technology. In the description below, you can find the Dallas Meditation Center's Facebook page where we post the events that are being live streamed. Yeah, please subscribe to YouTube so you can get notifications for the new live streams as we're posting them, and then you'll know when they're happening, where you're happening. You have to turn notifications on manually by tapping the bell right now, but that way you won't miss any of the fantastic stuff that we're keeping on. Um, I know that Dallas Meditation Center also has an Instagram. So whatever you do on Instagram, click like, subscribe, follow. You do that. I don't do Instagram, but I know they have one. Um, Dallas Meditation Center is 100% supported from donations from the community. And even though we're not in the same room right now, this is still the community. Everybody who's tuning in to the YouTube live streams, everybody who's tuning in to the new Zoom sessions that we're setting up so that y'all can have a voice too in this interaction, and it can feel more like we're in the room together. Y'all are the community, and it wouldn't exist without y'all. Um, you have the different ways that you can donate in the description below. At the Dallas Meditation Center website, you can set up either one-time or recurring donations of whatever level you want so that you can forget it. And then the next time that I ask you to donate, you can just tune me out knowing that you're doing your part. Yeah, yeah. Um, you can also donate by phone, and the information to donate by text messages in the description below. Ah, coming up, we will be live streaming usual Sunday Sangha. So the next thing I believe that is going on is the Awakening Heart Community of Mindful Living Sunday Sangha, 5 to 7 p.m. Central Time. And that is a little bit longer meditation as well as a talk. We're doing it on Zoom as well so that y'all will have a voice and can share your thoughts, and we can have more of a true discussion like we do. Knowing that you can carry this groundedness, um, this mindful energy that we just practiced cultivating together into the rest of your day, I'd like to invite y'all to join me for our closing affirmation. And I hope to see y'all on Sunday's live stream. If you know the affirmation, I'd invite you to join it at home. If you don't, you'll know it for tomorrow. Remember, this affirmation includes us, ourselves. Countless beings we vow to free. Ceaseless afflictions we vow to end. Limitless truth doors we vow to open. The deepest paths of awakening we vow to realize. Amitabha. Thank you all so much for joining me, y'all. I hope to see you on Sunday.